State Democrats are reacting to Benjamin's resignation. The Dem chairman, Jay Jacobs, released a statement saying, "I want to commend Brian Benjamin for his decision to resign from the office of lieutenant governor. In the short time that he had the privilege of serving, he did a lot of good for the people of our state. My thoughts are with him and his family as he addresses the serious charges that he must now confront," end quote. Well, today's announcement of those federal charges and his almost immediate resignation, creating political shockwaves across New York. We've heard from the state Democratic leader, you just did. Now let's hear from the other side of the aisle. New York's GOP chairman Nick Langworthy joining me now this evening. Nick, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me back.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the most immediate sort of need here. How do you think this affects the primary that's coming up here now in just a couple of short months?
I think this is a real stain on Kathy Hochul's tenure as governor. Her first major decision was to pick a trusted number two that could help her govern the state. And she picked a known commodity as a dirty politician. I mean, everyone in New York State politics knew Brian Benjamin had a serious ethical problem. I think she was blasted for it right away. Yet she picked him based on just the raw politics of her desperation to have an African-American leader from New York City to be on her ticket. She did that for raw politics, and it's blown up in her face. It makes her look not ready for prime time, and that she's truly in over her head as Albany goes.
So I'm curious also, you have heard plenty from Governor Hochul, particularly when she assumed that position after the former Governor Cuomo left in disgrace, of course. Governor Hochul was very vocal about this notion of having a transparent administration, having a clean record, having a clean administration, being out front, being open about how decisions are made. Here we are, though, most in recent memory, we go through a budget process very much the same as Governor Cuomo had done for the past 10 years, the sort of three men in a room, if you will. And then you've got Governor Hochul saying we will be transparent. And then here we are now faced with her lieutenant governor, her pick, facing 5 federal charges involving his own campaign. That's all politics here. Does she paint herself into a corner when it comes to the severity of this case against her lieutenant governor?
Absolutely, because she chose him right out of the gates. It's very crystal clear that her team did not vet Brian Benjamin. She didn't ask the tough questions. In coming out of the scandals that surround her administration, with Andrew Cuomo and what she had just been through, it's amazing to many that she hadn't asked those tough questions while these things were in print. They were covered by the media that he was surrounded by this kind of corruption. In following a lack of transparency in the budget process, where she got completely rolled by the legislature, where the state spent a record amount of money. She has had a really, really bad month, and she is not up to this job. Kathy Hochul has failed. I mean, she showed no leadership today when it came to the situation, the terrible situation in Brooklyn. The fake lipstick on a pig they've put on bail reform. I mean, she's completely failed the people of this state on public safety and public integrity. And, the voters, whether it be in June or in November, there's going to be real change in this state, and we're going to elect a Republican governor.
Well, that leads me to my last question here. When it comes to November, here you've got two administrations, both the Cuomo administration and now essentially the Hochul administration, at least as it pertains to Brian Benjamin, rocked by scandal. Here we are again. It's happening yet again. Do you think this is the best chance for your party to elect someone to the executive mansion?
We have thought that from the very beginning, whether it was Andrew Cuomo or Kathy Hochul in the seat or anyone else that happens to beat her in a primary. This is the year that a Republican will win this and restore balance and one-party Democrat control of the state, because it's been terrible for the taxpayers of the state of New York. But Kathy Hochul has been a continuation of her mentor, Andrew Cuomo's administration. No transparency, no public safety, an absolute abomination on our public financing. And her administration is going to go down in flames, as it has for the last month and a half.
Let me ask you very briefly, how will you overcome the Republican voters being so far outnumbered by Democrats? You're going to have to reach across the aisle to grab many thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Democrats and get them at least on board with your candidate.
People of all party affiliations are crying out for common sense to make a comeback in the great state of New York, and help is on the way. break up the absolute one-party cabal in this state, and that's going to happen in November.
All right, the New York State Republican Chairman Nick Langworthy. Nick, thanks so much for joining me tonight.